Hi crafters! So today what I'm going to show you, I'm so excited for this. I'm going to show you how to make a reusable stencil using some crafting plastic and some easy tack. I'm so excited for this because I have been getting a lot of orders for those reversible Christmas and fall signs, and I've been going through a ton of vinyl, so I thought there has to be a better way. And so I'm going to show you guys how to do that today. So let's get started. So here's what you'll need for a reusable stencil. So a piece of wood, whatever you want to paint on. You're going to want some paint. So for this, I'm going to use this Artist Loft acrylic paint, your weeding tool. You're also going to need some repositional adhesive spray. So I'm using this Krylon Easy Tack. I did a lot of research on these different kinds of sprays, and this one had the best reviews on Amazon, so I thought I'd give it a try. And I got this at Michael's because I have no patience and I could not wait 2 days. So I got it from Michael's. So Easy Tack, and you're also going to need some crafting plastic or transfer sheets. For this, I am using this I believe it's called Graphics, and you can see this sheet right here. I'm going to be using this Graphics crafting plastic I got on Amazon, so I'll link this, and I'll also link this Krylon Easy Tack. So let's get started. Alright, so what we're going to want to do first is we are going to want to open up our stencil. So if you don't know how to make a stencil yet in Design Space, I did a video, I think it's the last video I did or a couple of videos before that, and so you can learn how to make a stencil. So for this stencil, since we are using the crafting plastic, it does not have an adhesive back. So we're going to be using some Krylon Easy Tack to make it stick. But just to save us a little bit of a headache, what I want to do is I want to attach the cutout part of the E, the R, and the Y. And the reason for that is because since this isn't vinyl, since it's not going to stick, those little pieces will be loose. So with a vinyl stencil, they all just go on together with the transfer tape, but with this, it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to want to attach these to the stencil. So to do that, I just made this up. I don't know if there's a better way to do this. There definitely could be. But what I'm going to do is I want to take this square. I'm going to move it over to where I was just working. This is my fall and Christmas welcome sign stencil. So I'm going to kill two birds with one stone here. And I'm going to make this part of the stencil for this. So what I want to do is I just want to make like a little line shape. So you can make it as thick or as thin as you want. And just so you can see it, see what I'm doing, I'm going to make it a different color just so you can see. So I'm going to need to hold this one into place. So that's 1, 2, 3, and the little part of the Y. So I'm going to need 4 of these. 2, 3, 4. So the duplicate tool is right up here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line and I'm just going to attach it to this E. So I'm going to put it right there. And it's not actually attached to the E yet because we need to weld it together. So to do that, I'm just going to highlight the stencil and the E, and the little line there. So you can see it's all selected. And I'm going to come down here to weld. So now that little line that I just attached is actually a part of the stencil. So I'm going to do that for the R. Bring these to the front. Oop. I'm going to do it for the R, for the other R. Oops. and for the Y down here. Oops. So now that these are all attached, I'm going to select everything and weld it all. So now you can see that these loose parts, they're all connected to the stencil, so now we can start to make it. So I'm gonna go over here to make it. All right, so to make this, we have our stencil here ready to go. So what we are gonna do is we are gonna make sure our Cricut settings are on the right setting. So for this, what I'm gonna wanna cut it on is I'm gonna wanna cut it on, or what at least I've been cutting it on, is Poster Board Plus. So you're gonna wanna put it on the second, or the little dot after the word poster board. So that's gonna make sure it cuts through the plastic for you. All right, so it's found our machine. It has our setting on here, and actually I'm also gonna wanna change the blade. Forgot to do that. So I wanna change the blade to this deep cut blade. So load that into my clamp B. And now we can load our mat. And we can start to cut. All right, so let's unload this and see what happened. I think I'm gonna be happy. All right, so let's start weeding this. So we are gonna want the outline portion of the stencil. So I think the easiest way might be to first weed out. Let's see. I'm not used to working with these green mats. They're a little strong. Because I don't want to break the stencil. And I think this is kind of a lot of work, you know, for one stencil, but if you can make something reusable so you don't have to make it every single time, I think that is the way to go. I mean, obviously there's some stuff you're just gonna wanna make, you know, one, you know, vinyl stencil for. I probably won't do this for a lot of things, but for things that you know people are gonna be ordering, or you're gonna make a lot of them and you don't wanna spend a ton of money on vinyl, I think this is a great idea. So now we have our Mary stencil. So now let's throw it on some wood and see what happens. So for this part, you're gonna need a few things. So you're gonna want your paintbrushes back out. I'm using a sponge, and then I'm gonna use this little brush just to touch up. I'm gonna just use a scrap piece of wood that I have just to test this before I throw it on a really nice stained sign. And I'm also gonna use this Easy Tack. So it's Krylon Easy Tack. And the reason we want this is because, so now we have this nice, beautiful plastic reusable stencil, but it's not gonna stick to anything because there's no adhesive backing. So we wanna make it sticky, but we don't want it to be permanently sticky. We want it to be removable and, you know, repositionable. So this is Easy Tack Repositional Adhesive. So this stuff is gonna let us be able to stick our stencil but still remove it. I've tested it out a little bit, so there's a few tricks to using this, I think, but for the most part, I think it's a really good spray to use to make these repositionable. I can't talk. I just got back from Vegas like an hour ago, but I really wanted to do this, so bear with me. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to spray this very lightly because I don't want it to be so sticky that it leaves a residue when I pull it off. So you're gonna turn it over, and I'm gonna just So we're just going to want to lightly mist this, okay? All right, so now we're gonna let it dry for 60 seconds, and I actually might give it a little more time. So we'll wait 60 seconds for it to dry. All right, so I think it's been 60 seconds. So what I wanna do is before I stick this onto something that I'm, gonna wanna make look nice, I wanna make sure it's not gonna leave a residue. And when I was testing this out, I noticed that the first time I stuck it, it did leave kind of a filmy residue. So, but the second time, so I peeled it off, I saw that there was a residue, and then I stuck it again, and it seemed that there was no residue that time. So I think you just need to like stick it to something once, just to kind of remove that initial like excess. Like up here looks pretty heavy, where there might be leave a residue. So what I'm gonna show you guys is I'm gonna just take a piece of scrap wood that I have. So this is just something I use to kind of mess around with. So I'm gonna stick it. I just want to stick. I want to see if it's gonna leave a residue. So it might be nice for you to have something handy to make sure that you don't ruin something that you've already like worked really hard to stain. So I just want to stick this, and now I'm going to peel it just to see if it leaves a residue. A little bit, but actually not too bad. So I'm going to just stick this one more time. Just see, like right there, it's stuck pretty bad. Okay, so I think this is good to stick now to our wood that we're going to want to paint. This is just scrap paper that I sprayed it on top of. So now I'm going to position it on here. This is, again, just a piece of like pine, regular wood. It's nothing special. So I'm going to stick this stencil. And another trick, I don't think you need to push this down super duper hard, because I think that's where you can also get a residue. I just want to make sure the small parts are down. So let's paint. I'm going to use this red, again, Artist Loft level 1 acrylic. I really like this stuff. So I'm just going to put a little on my paper. And here I'm going to use my sponge, and I think there's actual stencil sponges, so I might invest in some of those, but this is what I have on handy right now, just a normal sponge. So I'm going to dip it in my paint. Don't need it. I don't want to do a ton at first. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dab, because what I've noticed is, especially with this foam brush, if I brush like I normally do with a vinyl stencil, it's gonna catch on all these corners, and so you're probably not gonna, you might have some bleeding there. So I'm gonna dab. I'm gonna start dabbing, so you're just gonna dab your stencil. I feel like I'm doing like a dab brush combo, but around those corners you're gonna want to be careful, because it's gonna catch and pull up the stencil. Yeah, and I'm really learning this with you guys, because I got a ton of orders for my reversible holiday welcome signs. See, now I just put a bunch of paint on there, so let's just see what happens. I got a bunch of orders for those reversible holiday signs that say like Happy Fall on one side and Merry Christmas on the other, which are super awesome and gorgeous to make. I love them, but they use I just peeled that up a little bit. They use a ton of vinyl, and so I really wanted a more cost-effective way to do them. So I'm just going to keep blotting. Again, be careful with these corners. I'm just going to... I understand that dabbing the paint makes sense, but I like the brushed on look. So I'm just going to go back over these, even though it's really going to mess up my... Okay. This is the moment of truth. Drum roll. Ding. All right, let's see what happens. I'm scared. I'm scared. All right, that looks so good. And I don't feel it, or this wood you can't really see, but I don't really see any residue at all. And this wood's really porous, so it's not like the best wood. It's not super smooth, so, but honestly, this looks really good. I'm super, super happy. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, I hope this brush works. Just gonna touch up these little guys right here. Again, less is more, so just go gentle at first until you can get it connected. And honestly, now that we have that easy tack, you know, at the end of the day, you could probably just keep all of these little, the hole in the E and the R and the Y, you could probably keep it separate and just stick it. But then if you lose it, that's going to be annoying, so. You just want to connect it. And I actually got a different brush. That brush was kind of fat. This brush is a little thinner, and it actually has dried paint on it, so I'm not worried about the bristles like just having a mind of their own. All right. So smooth that out a little bit. Okay, you guys, so now you have made a reusable stencil. So, ooh, I'm getting red paint all over my desk. So now I can reuse this bad boy again for another sign and another sign and another sign. And if you lose the tack off of this, all you have to do is just spray a little more of that easy tack and you're good to go. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope I know it's still summer, but once it gets to the holidays, I hope you guys have a happy holiday. And make sure you subscribe, like, leave a comment, or if you have any questions, I check all that. So if you have any questions, feel free. And make sure you follow me on @thecraftscraps on Instagram. Oh, sorry, it's @thecraft_scraps on Instagram. Happy crafting!